Hello everybody, today I'd love to introduce you all to the best web series you haven't seen, Pixie Hollow Love Story. It aired from 2012 to 2013 and was created by the YouTube channel Cookie Dough Sammy 12. Episode 1. The series starts off with the main protagonist, Magnolia, breaking into the house of a guy named Seth. Seth understandably asks her how she got in, and she explains that she's been breaking into random houses. Seth says that she can stay even though she probably broke a ton of laws across all 195 countries in this world, and the two start a conversation together. Seth learns that Magnolia is new in town and offers to show her around. He proceeds to give her the worst tour ever and then flirts with her. After having a date at the local restaurant, the two confess their love to each other faster than the speed of light. Episode 2. Even though they've only known each other for like half a day, Seth and Magnolia now live together. Seth announces that he got a job so that he can support them. Magnolia considers getting a job as well. Seth, like the alpha male he is, tells her that she doesn't need to, but she argues that she wants to be of more help. Magnolia tries to get work as a waitress, but ends up not getting the job after she asks everybody at the local restaurant if they needed a waitress and nobody responds. She runs to Seth while he's at work and expresses how upset she is. Later at home, Seth tells Magnolia that he will never leave her whether or not she has a job. Magnolia feels better and the two spend the evening together happily. Episode 3. Things become awkward between the two and they decide to spend the day to themselves. Magnolia, in a fit of rage, wishes that she had never met Seth, and in the biggest twist of fate ever, her wish is granted as she is transported to a world where Seth doesn't exist. Through the panic of not being with him, she realizes that she loves Seth and takes her wish back. She's then taken back to her original reality and she goes home to Seth. She tells him that she can't live without him. Episode 4. In Episode 4, Magnolia and Seth go out to swim together, but Magnolia confesses that she can't swim. Out of literally nowhere, Magnolia trips and falls into the water. Seth goes in to save her, but it results in him going to the hospital. When Magnolia visits him the next morning, Seth tells her that he might not make it till tomorrow, so he proposes to her, and surprise, surprise, Magnolia says yes. Episode 5. Apparently Seth survives because the series time jumps to the day before the wedding. Magnolia prepares her wedding dress while Seth settles his fears and doubts about the wedding. Honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't concerned about the fact that he was marrying a criminal that he barely knew and was the victim of, but whatever floats your boat, I guess. Episode 6. It's the wedding day and things go terribly. After not being able to find an officiator, Magnolia starts throwing a temper tantrum. She tells Seth that she hates him and that they'll never get married because nobody cares. She demands that all of her guests leave, and the episode ends with her all alone and sad in her house. Episode 7. The next day, Magnolia talks with her friend Emerald about how she and Seth broke up the day of the wedding. She asks for advice, and Emerald tells her that she should move on and forget about Seth. Magnolia agrees, but when she goes to sleep that night, she has a dream about all of her memories with Seth, and when she wakes up, she decides she can't forget him. Episode 8. Magnolia is sitting on a bench thinking about Seth when a guy named Eric approaches her. They go on the quickest date ever and then go to Eric's house where he reveals that he is a part of the royal family, specifically a prince and also the future king. Magnolia and Eric confess their love for each other after knowing each other for 5 seconds, a world record, and start dating. Episode 9. Even though Magnolia is dating Eric, she still thinks about Seth and can't get over him. Even through all this, she tells Eric that she wants a future with him and Eric proposes. Magnolia accepts. Meanwhile, Seth looks at public announcements and finds out that the prince is marrying Magnolia. He gets angry and vows to get her back. Episode 10. In Episode 10, Magnolia has severe stomach and back pain, so she decides to go to the hospital. There she finds out that she is pregnant with Seth's child. Episode 11. Eric comes back from a trip and waits inside the house for Magnolia. When Magnolia comes, she doesn't know that Eric is inside, so she laments about the fact that she's having a baby and Eric hears everything. She leaves the house and he panics about the entire situation. He decides that he needs to leave and be on his own for a while. As that's happening, Magnolia goes into labor and gives birth to a girl which she decides to name Emma. Episode 12. Queen Elva hasn't seen her son for a while and is understandably worried. She gets a phone call from her assistant Tyra explaining that Magnolia has given birth to a baby weeks ago and that Eric has been missing since. The queen is outraged and tells Tyra to get the baby. Meanwhile, Magnolia moves into her new castle. Episode 13. Tyra tells the queen that she couldn't get her hands on baby Emma. The queen yells at her and leaves to go get Emma herself. Tyra is upset and out of nowhere, Seth appears and flirts with her. The next day, Tyra informs Seth that Magnolia has given birth to his child. Meanwhile, the queen goes to Magnolia's old home and finds Eric. Things go from 0 to 100 real quick as she decides to lock him up in a cage in order to keep him apart from Magnolia. Eric professes that Magnolia is his true love and that he doesn't care that the baby isn't his. The Queen says that he will now be living the rest of his life in this cage. Once again, when the Queen leaves, Seth comes out of nowhere telling Eric that they need to talk. Episode 14. Tyra is alone and thinking about the situation at hand. She doesn't believe that Magnolia did anything wrong and she doesn't want to see the prince wither away in a cage for the rest of his life. She also explains that now Seth is her boyfriend, she wants to step up and not let the Queen control her. Magnolia is at her new job as a chef and Tyra calls her explaining the situation. Together they go to the cage where both Eric and Seth are, but when they arrive nobody is there. Magnolia goes back home where she finds Eric. Eric explains that Seth broke him out. Meanwhile, Tyra finds Seth at home and after greeting one another, Seth decides to propose and the episode leaves off with a cliffhanger of Tyra not giving him an answer. Episode 15. Tyra calls Magnolia and tells her that she and Seth are getting married. She asks Magnolia to be the wedding planner and Magnolia sadly agrees. Later, as Magnolia is looking at her to-do list for the wedding, she finds a love note by a secret admirer. Afterwards, she gets a phone call from Eric and the two have an argument. Magnolia leaves and Seth turns out to be there the whole time and expresses his happiness at the pair fighting, implying that he wrote the love note. In the final moments of the episode, it's revealed that Tyra is pregnant with Seth's baby. Episode 16. As Magnolia plans the wedding, Eric calls her and proposes. Magnolia says that she needs time to think and honestly I get it. Who the hell proposes by phone anyways? The next morning, Tyra gets a suicide note from Magnolia. Worried, she tells Seth and Seth goes off to save her. He finds her on a cliff about to jump into water. Seth asks her why she's doing this and Magnolia confesses that it's because she still loves Seth. She slips off the ledge, Seth saves her and takes her to the hospital where the doctors say that Magnolia has a rare case of memory loss. Eric comes to visit a sleeping Magnolia who's muttering Seth's name and Eric gets angry. Episode 17. Seth and Tyra are getting married, but Seth leaves her at the altar to go to Magnolia and confess his love to her. He gets a phone call from Tyra demanding that they get married, but Seth refuses and puts the wedding ring on Magnolia's finger. Tyra gets angry and kidnaps Emma. Magnolia comes back home and realizes Emma is missing. She then reads an angry note left by Tyra telling her that she took Emma because Magnolia took everything away from her. Magnolia's sister comes into her house saying that there's a fight going on in her garden. Episode 18. Eric and Seth are having a heated argument which results in Seth pushing Eric. Magnolia gets angry at Seth, saying that she can handle her own battles. Eric explains that Tyra plans to drown Emma in the river and Magnolia immediately goes to save her daughter. Tyra and Magnolia get into an altercation which causes Magnolia to push Tyra in the river, which leads to her death. A police officer approaches Magnolia and says that she is under arrest for the murder of Tyra as well as her unborn child. Episode 19. Magnolia explains to the officer that she was defending her family and that Tyra had kidnapped Emma. The police let Magnolia go free. Magnolia might not be in prison, but she'll always be a criminal in my heart. Magnolia and Seth get married and go to the beach for their honeymoon. Magnolia throws up and orders a large meal for dinner. The two go to the hospital and Magnolia finds out that she is pregnant with a baby boy. Episode 20. Magnolia is feeling sick, so she goes to the doctor who takes a blood test of everyone in the family to make sure nobody else is sick. Through the blood test, they find out that Emma's true father is Eric and the baby she's carrying is Seth's. Magnolia hides the DNA test from Seth and Eric comes to visit when Seth goes to the market. Magnolia tells Eric that Emma is actually his child and he's ecstatic by that news. Seth comes home and finds the DNA test. He then decides to confront Magnolia. As they argue, Magnolia feels a sharp pain. The two go to the hospital and Magnolia gives birth to a girl named Daisy, even though in the last episode they literally said she was pregnant with a boy, but whatever, I guess. The doctor rushes in and tells Magnolia that she received a false DNA test and that Seth is the father of both Emma and Daisy. The family all go home happily. Episode 21. Seth finds black mold in the house and tells Magnolia that they need to move out. Magnolia, not knowing where to go, asks Eric for help. Eric gives them a place in the palace, but the family can't afford it due to Seth losing his job. Eric says that he wants payment in the form of Magnolia going out to dinner with him instead. The two go out to eat and dance together. They both kiss while Seth watches from a window. The next day, Seth takes the kids and leaves divorce papers for Magnolia on the table. Episode 22. Magnolia is sad due to the entire situation. situation, and so she talks to some friends to feel better. Afterwards, she calls Seth, and he angrily tells her that he saw her and Eric together that night. Magnolia begs for him to come back, but he refuses. Magnolia does some self-reflection and realizes that she ruined Seth's potential life with Tyra. She goes out to eat and sees Seth. She and Seth start fighting. As things get more heated, Magnolia tells him that he treated her poorly and accuses him of abusing her. She goes home and signs the divorce papers. Episode 23. Eric and Magnolia are now back together. The two happen to meet Seth and his new girlfriend Helen at the local restaurant. The pairs talk to each other and decide to go on a double date. While getting ready for it, it's revealed that Helen treats Emma and Daisy horribly. On the date, Seth proposes to Helen in front of the other pair. At home, Magnolia is feeling sad and looks through her photo album. She says it's time to move on. The movie. Just like all shows, this one has an official movie. It starts with Magnolia getting an invite to Seth and Helen's wedding. Seth asks her if they could borrow a wedding dress because they can't afford one, and Magnolia agrees. Helen is so happy that she makes Magnolia the maid of honor. At dress rehearsal, Magnolia and Seth dance together. He confesses that he can't stop thinking about her. Magnolia goes home crying. Once she's home, Eric proposes to her and she says yes. The next day, she goes to Seth and Helen's wedding but gets extremely sick in the middle of it, so she leaves to get help. When it's time to get married, Seth leaves Helen at the altar. Old habits die hard, I guess. He calls Eric asking where Magnolia is, and he informs him that she's at the Royal Hospital. He goes immediately to tell her that he loves her, and Magnolia says she feels the same, but also asks that she's dying and is almost out of time. Seth wants to save her, but Magnolia tells him to let it be and just to hold her. Magnolia dies, and an angel takes her to heaven. Seth realizes and says that to love someone is to look at the face of God. And that's the end of the story. I didn't do much of an analysis in this video, but if that's something y'all are interested in, then please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content by me. I'll catch you all in the next video.